Coming to you from the Oddball Podcast Studios in New York City. My name is Vin Forte, and you're listening to Oddball with Vin Forte. Go follow the show over on Twitter at Oddball Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Mighty Vin. Follow me over on Instagram at Vin Forte NYC. And if you're only listening to the pod, go follow it over on YouTube. That's the best, the newest, most recent way to support the pod. YouTube.com/@Oddball Podcast. That's YouTube.com/@Oddball Podcast. I've been putting up full episodes for the past couple of months. Gonna start putting up maybe some segment chunks soon. So you don't want to miss that. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up today. Kind of a season premiere. The past couple weeks have been really fun. Had some great guests. But now NBA season's in full swing. Tip-off was this week. And listen, there's going to be a lot to discuss today. But what we're not going to do is overreact to NBA tip-off. So let's just jump right into it. So we have our new fancy background and stuff going on here. As you see on your screen right now, if you're watching on YouTube, Jokic and LeBron. That was the big marquee matchup the other night. And suffice to say, people still underestimating Jokic, I think. I don't know. It's very weird. Like, okay, yeah. The Nuggets have been jaw-jacking, since they won. But you know what? It's because they won. You know? When you win, especially the championship, you get to talk a little bit. You get to chirp. You get to be Mike Malone, all blinged out in Denver, talking about, who's your daddy? Well, he wasn't even the one. It was the announcer. It was someone else saying, who's your daddy? But they definitely co-opted it. And then, every question he gets asked about the Lakers from then till now, he's had this response of like, oh, who? What? Oh, them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like sort of brushing them off. And again, look, I get it. You're running around. You got all this newfound Denver swag. And then you come out and you punch him right in the mouth. And look, LeBron had a great game. I think that's going to be the story. Basically the story emeritus for the next couple of years is going to be LeBron and just how good he is at this age. That's been the story with the Lakers, as well as, is this going to be the year? And again, talk about a story emeritus. Like, this has been going on since they won the championship, back in 2020. When's AD gonna take the LeBron baton? When's he gonna take the baton and just run with it? Because we didn't really see that in this game. He was good, but like all these questions, even after the game, they asked LeBron about, what does AD need to do to improve his performance? Do you feel that he could step up a little more? And he kind of just said, like, look, man, we brush it off. Like, AD is not on social media. He doesn't, get involved in all the hoopla and all the I'm blanking on the word I'm trying to use, all the speculation. I'll use a synonym. All the speculation and conjecture around, who's going to be the leader of this team. But I think as of right now, it's still LeBron's team, and I think he's been waiting to pass that off. And look, that's going to be a recurring theme throughout this season until we get evidence otherwise from AD. Now, the other game I want to focus on last night was the debut of Giannis and Dame against the Philadelphia 76ers, sans James Harden. Obviously, a lot going on there still. I believe he had an excused absence, James Harden, the past 10 days. And then it was revealed yesterday during Inside the NBA when they were doing the tip-off. Chris Haynes reported that, look, Harden, he showed up, was ready to jump on the plane with the team, and they told him, no, stay back. But the trainer on the team that he usually works with, that trainer is going to the game. So his trainer's going to the game, but he's not. I think, they're kind of just trying to keep him out of sight, out of mind right now while they go and win. But I think, they said now that the NBA is going to kind of look into what's going on with this because, obviously this year there's the new, playing requirements for players to receive awards and load management tweaks that they've been doing. So they definitely want to suss out this situation very quickly. Because what do you do? Like, if you're a guy who is on the outs of your team, but, at the same time, when push comes to shove, you're going to show up to play, and they tell you don't even get on the plane, does that count against you? Like, what's the deal with that? So I think we're gonna test these load management rules very quickly, it seems. But as for the game itself, look, a lot of close games the past couple days, and this is one of them. Could have easily went the other direction. Even without James Harden, the 76ers looked. I mean, they looked good. They looked like the 76ers. I don't know what you want me to say. Like the 76ers, the best way to put it is they've looked like the 76ers for the past few seasons. And on one hand, that's a good thing because they're a really solid basketball team that can get very high in the seed rankings. But what do we always say about the 76ers? Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So, can they get over that hump? I think in the regular season, they don't really have a whole lot to worry about. Look, they're going to get theirs in the regular season. They're going to win enough games to rank high, be competitive, get people talking. Joel Embiid may be in the MVP conversation again, but it's all going to come down to the playoffs for them. I mean, it comes down to the playoffs for everyone, but for them especially, like this is something. This is a chip on their shoulder. This is something they need to get off their back, and the extra pressure for them is that time's wasted. Like, you want to talk about the James Harden situation? There's a Joel Embiid situation going on, because let's say we get halfway through this season, they're not all there. They've been cracked up to be. Maybe James Harden throws another wrench in the fire. Like I don't know what he could do at this point that he hasn't already done. I mean, he went to China and called out Daryl Morey. I don't know if it gets any more extreme than that. But maybe the situation lags on too long. You give him away for a box of peanuts when maybe you could have, had you struck while the iron was hot, gotten a Drew Holiday. Just a thought. But so they've definitely got concerns. I watched I'll get local with you. I'll get local. My Nets, 2 nights ago, played the Cavs. Ben 10 looked good. He looked good. If we could, the question had been asked, if we could activate Ben Simmons and he can get to like 75% of the player he was, could this be a situation where they're sort of the dark horse that comes out of the East in a high seed? Could be. They lost that game to the Cavs, but they lost it by a shot. Like first game of the season, this is a good Cavs team. I'm not worried. I think they're still Jacques Vaughn is still trying to figure things out. I mean, it's evidenced by the fact that he put Cam Thomas in, not starting. Guy scored a boatload of points, and then it was like, okay, we're taking you out. And meanwhile, like this goes back to last season too, where Cam Thomas would come in, he'd cook, and then Jacques Vaughn would be like, "Oh, we're taking you out." Like, does Jacques Vaughn know something we don't? Like, because if he does, like, please tell us. Like, I'd love to know as a fan of this team. Like, please tell me why you keep taking out Cam Thomas or why he's not in the starting rotation. Now, maybe he will be. Maybe he'll even take twisting Jacques Vaughn's arm a little bit, but someone tell me why that's not the case, because I can't figure it out. I'm thinking like maybe it's me, maybe I'm the idiot. But from what I see online and other people talking about, I don't think I am. I don't think I am on this. But I do want to talk about something very, very important. Again, tip off. You can read into whatever you want to read into. It's just the first week, just the first slate of games. We're going to see stories unfold throughout the season. This is not the end of the road. Don't take a whole lot of stock in your team winning or losing opening tip-off. But something that is exciting that came out this week. Oh, baby. All-Star Weekend this coming season in Indy. As you can see on your screen. That's not the exciting part. Look, Indiana is great. I'm sure Pacers fans are gonna have a field day. But the real the real fun is Adam Silver came out this week at a press conference and said they're returning to the East versus West format for the All-Star game. They're getting rid of the Elam ending. They're getting rid of this stupid exhibition style playground, Team LeBron versus Team Giannis, and they're just gonna pick whoever regardless of conference. Like, no, what we want to see, like the bare minimum for an All-Star game, to me, is you've got two conferences in your league. Give me the Eastern Conference, give me the Western Conference. All year we talk about, oh, the West is loaded, man. Like, they can't hang with the East. Oh, well, no, like the East, like the stars they do have are so good, but they can't get the pieces around them. This is the game that's supposed to settle that score. Every year, if nothing else, you can rely on the bragging rights of East versus West. East versus West. Like, do I care? Like, Team LeBron. Oh, well, I'm so happy. Giannis's, playground team won. I don't care about that. And look, you could say you don't care about the All-Star game in general, and that's fine. I can't tell you what to like and what not to like. But I'm willing to bet if you do like the All-Star game, you want it to be East versus West. And it hasn't been that in quite a while, and I am very excited for it. I mean, the first year they did that Elam ending, it worked because people were gassed up about it a little bit. They were curious. The people involved, like, they knew it was for charity, so they kind of wanted to make a big deal about it. People had a lot of hustle in that fourth quarter. But then, ever since then, I mean, this past year was maybe the saddest All-Star game of them all. Like, just the fact that they thought we wanted to watch like a 40-minute or whatever it was pre-show where they're picking the players in real time. I don't care. It's not of huge interest to me. Again, like when you have East versus West, that's a whole different thing. Because again, at the very least, you're putting those bragging rights on the line. You're giving me something. Like, at the very least, you're giving me something. So you've gone from giving me nothing to, at the very least, now you're giving me at least a little something. Is it perfect? Again, like, that's going to be at your discretion. Whether you think them going East to West again is going to be great. You know what? Maybe you loved the Elam ending. Maybe you did. I can't speak for you. I can't. As my camera, I just noticed, is freezing up on me. But what I can speak to is our next topic, which, sticking with the NBA. Oh, baby. Dog, I heard you like rings, so we put a ring inside your ring. This is insane. This Nuggets ring, I mean, these rings are just getting more and more elaborate. That's not the big story. Well, I guess it is. I don't know what I'm saying. The story is that this Nuggets ring is absolutely incredible. We've seen the past couple years rings that have like secret compartments. You can slide different pieces of it to change the background. There's like hidden compartments with extra jewelry. And this Nuggets ring has all of that. So not only does this Nuggets ring have like a thing, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see in the back where sort of the blue spacing is. That can change color to, I think, like diamonds. And then the big thing is inside the ring, and you really need to go look up a video of this to get the full, the full scope of it. But you could basically slide out a secondary gold ring that has a picture of the championship banner on it. That is luxury. Like that that you could like wave in the face of people behind you, in history. Like, go back and look at some of the championship rings from the 70s and the 80s. 90s, they got a little more extravagant. But once we hit like the 2010s, oh baby, like these rings have gotten so over the top. And I'm for it. Look, you won. You won. Show off, show out. These rings should be extravagant. Some people will be lucky to only get one ring in their life. Some people have multiple rings. That's why, like, when people talk about, oh, LeBron only has 4 rings. Oh, only 4 rings? Like, that's like he's a chump. Like, we're just gonna discount him because he only has 4 rings. Oh, excuse me. And look, we're not getting into the LeBron MJ debate, but I'm just saying, like, some people, that's how some people act. But this ring is extravagant. If you haven't seen it, I had to bring it to your attention because I had completely forgotten. Like, I know they do the rings on opening night, first home game, but it just slipped my mind. So when I saw them getting the rings, I was like, oh yeah, they got the ring, and I see them like playing around with the rings and opening different compartments and sliding stuff around. It's like this is something else, man. This is wild. And look, speaking of wild, this is something I wanted to get to. And look, don't change the dial. I know that that you may not care about the Brooklyn Nets. This I think you're going to find interesting though. On eBay this past week, a pitch book for the then brand spanking new Brooklyn Nets to sway Carmelo Anthony to come to Brooklyn surfaced. Because I don't know if you remember when Carmelo Anthony back in 2011 was going to leave Denver, there were all these teams that were vying for his services. And he would fly out, he'd take meetings with people, they'd show you pitch books and stuff. Some of it was crazy. This was truly like the era of going all out to get someone on your team. Like, if you think this kind of stuff is crazy, go look up LeBron's courtship. Go look up a friend of the show, Seth Rosenthal over at Secret Base. They've got some videos on that about LeBron's decision. They got a rewinder video on it. Please watch that. It is fascinating. Like in the LeBron case, they filmed an extra scene of The Sopranos with James Gandolfini and like insane stuff. They made like what was it? I think the Cavs tried to keep him by making a video in the style of South Park or Family Guy. I think it was Family Guy, where it had like all these inside references and jokes to the team. Like really like weird going all out kind of stuff. But yeah, Sopranos one was insane because it was like, I don't think the video was ever surfaced. I think I would have seen that, but it's apparently Tony Soprano be like, I know a guy. I know a guy in New York City. Like, like you should come visit my friend in Madison Square Garden. So that's wild. But in that same vein, this appeared a new beginning. And it shows the blueprint to Brooklyn in the world. And what you don't see here, if you go look it up yourself online, there's an extra page that shows like Mikhail Prokhorov and Jay-Z. And like, oh, you could be in with these guys. Because this was around that time when Jay-Z, had big stake in the Barclays Center and the Nets. And if you lived in the city around that time, you remember there were several billboards that were like the blueprint for tomorrow. Like, don't you love Jay-Z? Well, if you love Jay-Z, you're gonna love the Brooklyn Nets. It's like, what? Again, even as a Nets fan, I was like, well, this doesn't track. Like, okay, so you love Jay-Z, so you're gonna love this basketball team? I don't know if that tracks. But if you can see here on YouTube, you've got them mocked up with Brooklyn Nets jerseys that never were. So these like phantom what if jerseys, like a Marvel what if right now. And I actually didn't even look at this part. In the bottom right corner there, you can see the image of him. I believe that's Brooke Lopez, champion Brooke Lopez now. Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, And I think that's Chris Humphries. Man, remember Chris Humphries? What a 2011. So this would have been your quote unquote, big air quotes championship squad. A several years out of their prime, Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton. A young Brooke Lopez, okay, fine. And Chris Humphries, and then Carmelo Anthony leading them. I mean, Knicks gave him a little more firepower than that. I guess I gotta keep it real, and they couldn't really do a whole lot. Maybe it was just Melo, as people like to say. Uh, Maybe it was the organization, but those are questions for a different topic. What we know now, though, is that this did not happen, and I would like to see more of this kind of stuff leak out. Like, I'm always fascinated by the what ifs in sports and entertainment. Like, there are accounts on Twitter and Instagram where they'll show like behind the scenes of like movies that almost got made, or like pitch tests for things. And it's fascinating. Like the other day I was watching, what was it? It was a pitch video. It was like 30 seconds, like not even a minute long, for a Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel in 1998. And it was just like a like 20-second animatic, fully done. So I guess it wasn't an animatic, but it was like Roger Rabbit dancing on a table in CGI. But the CGI was like made to look like it was hand drawn. It was fascinating. It looked good for what it was, but also it looked like it was going to be direct to VHS, which apparently it was. So glad that wasn't made. But going back to the LeBron pitch, I would love to see those videos. Like, why was that never on like a Sopranos box set? The the failed pitch. There's two things we need if they ever do another Sopranos set. We need the LeBron pitch video, and we need the deleted scene from Many Saints of Newark, where it was going to open with Carmela basically retelling the story. It's going to be framed around her. The whole movie was going to be framed around her telling the story. So it would ostensibly be new footage of Edie Falco as Carmela, which, again, not a big deal, but like still kind of fascinating. So I'm always interested when this stuff leaks. Go check it out. Go look it up. It's all over Reddit and Twitter this week. You see the pictures here. You can get some better pictures if you search for them. And yeah, weird, wild stuff, as they say. And speaking of weird, wild stuff, again, we're kind of going at the speed. We're rolling around at the speed of sound this episode. There we go. We did it. We did it. We made a pun applicable to the thing we're talking about. Okay. So I saw this the other day and I was like, I gotta talk about it. Soap shoes. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the ad for soap shoes, and then you see the Sonic Adventure. We'll explain why you're seeing Sonic the Hedgehog on the screen in a second. So, soap shoes. There was a time, post-millennium and pre-9/11, like from, I would say around the turn of the, like 99, 2000 to basically post-9/11. It's a weird line of demarcation, but it is what it is. And that small period of time was when Extreme with a capital X was the major sort of branding force in marketing. Everything had to be extreme. You had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Jackass and Extreme Sports and the X Games, and everyone was trying to get a piece of the pie. Whether you were a skateboard manufacturer, whether you were pumping out sneakers, whether you were doing scooters, or the friggin' X Pogo, where it's a big ball that was a pogo, not even a pogo stick, it was a pogo ball. But everyone wanted a piece of the pie. And around that time, you had these shoes called soap shoes. Now, what these were shoes that had a little sort of groove in the bottom of them. It was circular groove, as you can see in the image. And that was so that you could grind with them. You could grind on rails, as this redhead Rube is doing in the photo. You could grind on, corners but who did it? Did you, like it says on the screen? Did you actually grind in your soap shoes if you had them? Like seriously, did you see a railing and instead of taking out your skateboard or rollerblades, where you're like, nah, man, I got this. I got soap shoes on, dog. I'm gonna jump on this rail because I feel like you really need the traction of being on top of something else. You know what I mean? Like if you're on a skateboard, you can leverage the weight of the skateboard going down that rail, for example. Whereas if you're wearing soap shoes, you're at the complete mercy of that rail because you're one to one with it. So if you twist your foot a little bit or get caught at a wrong angle, you're breaking your ankle. Like that's not it's like you would think at first blush that you would have more control. That like the soap shoes are giving you more control because you're one to one with the rail. But again, like in practice, I don't necessarily think that's the case. And going back to the marketing, if you remember the marketing for soap shoes at all, it's because they threw in with the Sega Dreamcast and everyone's favorite hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog. And as you can see there, those are screenshots from Sonic Adventure 2. Soap shoe advertising all over the place to the point where one of the main features that that game introduced specifically to the Sonic franchise was you being able to grind on rails because Sonic wore soap shoes in the game. It should be noted that sort of the big kicker here was that Sonic Adventure 2 released in, I believe, July of 2001, about 4 or 5 months after they had announced the Dreamcast was going to be discontinued. So good on soap shoes. They really struck while the iron was hot and got in with a game that was released after the console it was released for announced that they wouldn't be making that console anymore. And then soon after soap shoes, I think they got into a couple lawsuits. Gee, I wonder why. And that was sort of the end of them. But again, like I asked the question again, if you wore soap shoes, did you wear them just because, okay, it's cool that I've got the look, like this is just sort of a thing at the time that is a fad? Or did you actually grind with them? I want to know, like leave it in the comments if you actually grinded on a rail with your soap shoes. I need to know about it. And I need to know if you fell flat on your ass. Like, how were they? How did they handle? That's what I want to know. What kind of dexterity did you have on soap shoes? Is it, I would say it would probably be most comparable to rollerblades. So if you've done both, let me know, the comparison to both. But I'm fascinated, like the mellow stuff. I'm fascinated by, stuff from a very specific period of time that sort of leaks out. I'm also fond of this kind of stuff as well, where it's like soap shoes were a blip on the radar. I think they were introduced in like 96, got hot around, the year 99, 2000. And then once they were hot, they flamed out as quickly as they came in. And again, like everyone was trying to jump on that extreme trend. Everything from, video games having to be extreme to, look at Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, he ran fast, and being the fastest animal alive was not good enough. It was so not good enough that they needed to give him shoes that made him grind on rails so he could go even faster. That's how much he needed those soap shoes, apparently. At least according to Sega. So let me know if you use soap shoes. Inquiring minds need to know. And let me know if you remember anything else extreme from that era. I remember even like snacks where it'd be like Ritz crackers, extreme, double s'mores, filling. Everything had to be extreme. If you were buying, like I said, cheese crackers, it couldn't just be cheese crackers. It had to be like extreme jalapeno cheese crackers, like fruit by the foot, extreme, even Burger King, even the idea of like the kids meal. Do you remember they had, it was like the kids meal and they had like the Burger King big kids meal where it's like, this ain't your little brother's kids meal. You get extra food in this meal. Meanwhile, it was just like a regular single with fries. But like, it was just like a little bigger because you were 12 instead of 6. You know what I mean? Like, it was not that big of a deal. But what is a big deal is I need you to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Support the show, support the pod over at youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. Follow me over on social media at Mighty Vin and at Oddball Podcast over on Twitter/X. Vin Forte NYC over at Instagram. Go follow the other pod I do, Wrestle Rap, WRASSLAP. Excuse me, WRASSLRAP. Not Wrestle Lap. That doesn't make any sense. Wrestle Rap of DJ Emilio Sparks. We do that. I also do some stuff over on the Black Wrestling Patreon with Mike Sempervive of Wrestling Observer Live. We do bowls in the China Shop with him and Cal and Fam and the rest of the gang over there. So go check that out at patreon.com/Black Wrestling. Twitch. I usually Twitch a couple times a week. Pretty infrequent, informal. So go check that out. Twitch.tv/Mighty Vin. But again, if nothing else, if you only do one thing, support this pod. Again, youtube.com/@Oddball Podcast. If you want to listen to the pod, get it wherever you get your podcast from. Spotify, Apple, Google Play, Libsyn, wherever you get. You know where to get your podcast from because you're listening to one right now. I like the new setup. I like the new background. I hope you like it too if you've been watching over on YouTube for a little while now. I think this is good, especially going into the new season, into the new NBA season. Wanted to just bang out a nice, fun episode for you today. Again, we had some great guests on the past couple of weeks. We have some great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. Definitely Martenzie Johnson over at Anscape and ESPN will be back. He does his monthly spot returning this month for the NBA season. Not a moment too soon. We'll have some other fun stuff for you as well. So, with all of that said, I'll see you next week, same time, same place. You've been listening to Oddball with Vin Forte. My name is Vin Forte. I want to thank you once again for checking out the pod. Go subscribe. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.